Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about the grief of knowing. Um, I'm gonna be really honest with you guys because I feel like I want this space to be like 100% just always honest, always vulnerable. Like that's literally what it is that I'm focused. That literally who I am at the core. So it's like, why not be that here too? And create a space that allows for that to be the case as well. I've been in a very dark place. I feel like for a very long time. And even more so since being baptized, I kept that private. And the reason for that was that when I walked into my baptism, like when I had this experience, I had this assumption that I was going to come out feeling redeemed, feeling closer to God. And it was the complete opposite of that. I felt further, I felt confused, I felt like maybe I wasn't taking the right track. I literally did not want to be here the night before, or I think a day before my baptism. So I'm not going to say the night before, but I'm going to say a day before. And it brought me to this realization that I'm grieving and I don't know how to grieve because I feel like we always talk about grieving the unknown, right? Grieving what we didn't see happening, grieving what we had no control of happening. But how do you grieve in the places where you saw it coming? You saw the possibility of what could happen and you didn't move out of the distraction zone. You didn't like try to avoid it. You sat in it, even with it knowing, because at some point you knew that this was going to come to an end. At some point you knew that you were going to have to change. At some point you knew like it was going to essentially lead to this moment. But how do you grieve that with also being honest that a part of you are resentful? Like a part of you resents the fact that you stayed in a place that you knew wasn't going to bring anything, wasn't going to bring you stayed in a place that was dead. You knew that it wasn't going to bring life. You knew that it wasn't going to resurrect something inside of you. Yet you still stayed there for the sake of chemistry, maybe attachment, maybe the memories. And I feel like sometimes the world can be so hard on us and tell us like, well, you knew better. And it's like, yeah, you did know better. But what do you do when your emotions invade all judgment? When your feelings literally overtake what it is that you know you shouldn't do or shouldn't go through with? And how do you even invite God in those moments where it's like, you don't need a "I told you so"? You need a shoulder to lean on. You need someone to like help you understand what it is that you're experiencing. And there's some times in life where the only thing that you can say is, God, allow for your will to be done, right? And we get to this point of trying to hold it all together because people are either tired of hearing about it, or they don't really care in the way that we want them to, or because they're also tired of the situation. They're like, finally. Meanwhile, you're still grieving something because it mattered to you. And I think a lot of times we don't understand that grief is just an opposite emotion of love. It's where you loved. It showed where love was. It showed where something didn't matter, something had meaning. And I feel like the moment that when you lose that, we have this assumption to just get back up and, push through, like be okay with it. But the reality is like, what do you do when you can't? What do you do when you quite literally can't use the strength that you had before? You quite literally can't just get back up on the horse and start riding again. You literally feel like the wind was taken out of you. And I think the best thing is that you don't. You don't try to have strength that you don't have. You don't try to make yourself look better or come off or appear that you're healed when you're not. You don't lie. Because lying will only continuate this process of you grieving and mourning because you're not actually facing it or allowing yourself to finally accept what has ended. And for so long, I kept trying to get through this space of just like, well, God, give me the strength, give me the strength. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And it took me to be so weak to understand, like, you're not going to get through this through strength. You're not going to get through this through being stronger. You're not going to get through this through trying harder, essentially, because there's nothing you can do. You've literally, what is the word, exalted all other options. So when I had that recognition or realization, I think it kind of brought me to a place of just feeling even more stuck than before, because you kind of don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that the very thing that you're used to relying on, you can no longer rely on in this season. It will not get you to where it is. If anything, it's going to be the thing that hurts you more, because you're trying to rely on. It's like trying to walk on a broken leg. The leg is broke. You trying to walk on it's not going to help it repair. You need to heal and let it rest so that it can build up again, so that you can then use that leg. It's the same way with when things happen. We just try to get back up and just act like it didn't happen, but it did. And when I was sitting with God about this, because I just got to a point of like, it literally was breaking me mid-shower. Like, it was just a lot. And when I was sitting with him with it, I came to this realization of like, he too struggled with the grief of knowing, you know, he too struggled with feeling as if he was stricken with this despair, this grief. When Jesus was in the garden praying, and he asked 3 times, he prayed 3 times, the prayer about God's will be done, not my will, but your will be done. Take this cup from me. When he was saying this, he knew what was coming, right? Other people around him may not have known. And that's the other part too about the grief of knowing, is that everyone else around you may not understand what it is that you're mourning. They don't see it. They may not understand what it is that is coming, but you can feel the impending doom. When you know certain things, especially I feel like if you're tapped in spiritually, when you know certain things, you just know. There's a quote, when you've seen abandonment, you can sense when it's coming. So when you've seen things play out before, you have a tendency of knowing a pattern. And I think a lot of times what we don't expect is to still have to handle the grief even though we knew. What are you supposed to do with that? And it showed in the Bible, like Jesus, I feel like he was having a real human experience. He was showing us exactly in those moments. He didn't run from it. He didn't try to change it. He expressed in that moment, not my will, but your will be done. Even though what I know this means, not my will, but your will be done. And I think the thing about us trying to figure it out when the pieces are scattered or fragmented, that's not the time for you to figure it out. That's not the time for you to try to make sense or get back in the way that you were normally back to. You may never get back to that version of you. There are some seasons where you have to accept that you took a loss, and that loss also impacted you more than you would have liked it to. So there are pieces of you, fragments of you that are scattered that you will never get back. But that doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity for you to be made whole again. And not in the way that you were, but in a way that is new. And I feel like one of the things that I'm struggling with even now with myself is just this space of like, I'm in that where it's like, I saw this happening, it's happened. And I'm recognizing that sometimes when you, like, I'm gonna say undiagnosed pain, when you don't give language to something and you just keep acting like you're okay, the problem with not showing as if you're okay when you're not is that it can be the tiniest thing that will tip you over the edge, and you won't understand why you're over the edge. But the reality of it is, it's not that the abandonment from that thing is the thing that's bothering you. It's not them leaving you that's really bothering you. It's a minor detail on a massive issue that you haven't addressed fully. And until you choose to address that one, until you choose to address that, it's going to keep coming up. And you're going to keep having these experiences where it's like, I feel like this is happening again. And you're not understanding why it's happening again without understanding the lesson that you're supposed to get from it. It's not that it's supposed to just continuously happen. No, that means that you're on a cycle. That's what that means, essentially. And sometimes, I think somebody in the back yelling. Sometimes we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that we're the cause for our own, like, we're the reason as to why we're struggling. But I think that's one of the things that I had to really sit with, and I'm still having to sit with, where it's like, this isn't about that, this isn't about this is specifically about this wound that you will not address. And you keep trying to drink it away, smoke it away, using everything else to avoid this pain. And it's like, you would think that me being baptized now, me trying to get closer to God, me having this mental understanding of who it is that God is, that I would be farther from this point, but I'm not. And the reason for that, and I'm having to actually like sit with this, even talking to you guys, that it's like, I feel like the grief of knowing keeps you stuck of actually completing the action and how to get free from it. What I mean by this is, like, when you have an awareness of what your issues are, you have such an awareness on other people's issues, you have an awareness on a bunch of other things, you will become so aware that you'll become paralyzed by the information that you have, that you won't move. So you'll stay continuing in a cycle that you know that's outdated. You'll stay continuing in places that you know make you shrink, just for the sake of the fact that you're not willing to act on what it is that you know. And that is sometimes why you end up grieving things that your discernment was being called for in that moment. Your discernment was telling you something in that moment that wasn't information for you to stay longer to see. Your discernment was trying to avoid this moment from happening. And I think sometimes we get so caught up on what it is that we want, until God gives you no other choice but to just allow for his will to be done. When you have, the worst place to be is in a position where you don't have the choice anymore because you did not listen. And I think that's what some of it is too. I'm just trying to see if anything else comes to me in this moment while I'm speaking to you guys. But it's crazy because, like, I literally kept saying I need to go outside. And I feel better with being in nature, like being outside and stuff. That's literally my thing. Like, y'all, that's my thing. But it's just so crazy how this was tormenting me. And I'm recognizing that some of the torment, or even some of the resentment that I have towards God, is not really towards God, it's with myself. It's that saying of, like, you knew better. And that's information, though. I feel like that's information. Like, when you're angry, when you're upset, that's information. When you're grieving, this is information. Grief, I feel like, is showing you what mattered. Anger is telling you where you feel like your boundaries are being displaced, or where you feel like someone's crossing a line that they shouldn't be crossing. Sadness is that you feel hurt. Like, there's a reason why they come up. It's not for you to react to it. It's signaling something to you. And in the times where God is trying to test your discernment, or help you to learn how to operate in your discernment, I feel like those are the times where we need to lean in rather than pull away, because, like, it's so much to know. But there's a reason why he wants you to know. There's something for you to do with that knowing. And sometimes the grief that comes with knowing is heavier than what it is that we would want it to be. But the reality is, if you don't act on it, the grief that you will carry from not acting on it, it will leave you with something far more heavier. And it's interesting, I will say that. But yeah, I feel like I'm gonna leave you guys with that. I hope you guys are okay. I hope that this message resonated with you. I hope that you guys are feeling okay. And honestly, like, please get some sun. Please get out of your room. Get out of whatever dark space. Open a window. Even if you can't, I always say, if you can't do what you want, do what you can. Like, if you can't take a full on gloss down shower and lotion up, or even fully even brush your teeth, or even, like, you really can't. You can't even eat. Get a nibble of something. Spark a flush of water or something. Throw some mouthwash. Just a little of something to make yourself feel better, because one of the places that I'm learning for me is that in order for me to get out of this rut, I'm going to have to pick myself up day by day, day by day. This isn't going to be a process of like, oh, we just get through it. No. You have to assess when you've been hit. Like, hold on. Okay, we're down. But it's not about you staying down. You getting hit and getting knocked down, that's not the issue, right? That happens to the best of us. It's just the getting back up. You just got to get back up. That's it. And it doesn't have to be this strenuous thing. Don't make it harder. Make it very simple. The simplest task that you can do to make you feel at least 1% better. If it's even just sitting out in nature and dingy, go do that. Because I needed that, and I feel like somebody else may need it too. As I always say, I love you guys. God loves you. You are worthy. You are deserving. You are enough, and you deserve to be here. Yeah, and I'm gonna talk to you guys a little later. I want to try to get back with being consistent with speaking to you guys, because I feel like this helps me as much as it may help you. And yeah, so I'm gonna let you guys go. I love you guys. Bye.